Hi, welcome to this video about 7th chord spelling. Okay, you can do this right along with me if you have the document in front of you, or you can do it on a piece of manuscript paper separately. Okay, the first thing to acquaint ourselves with is what do we get when we harmonize a major scale? We write out a major scale, and then we stack notes on top of our original notes. We get a third, a fifth, a seventh. Over here we end up with a third, a third, a fifth, a seventh, and so on. And they all look the same, but turns out they sound different. Major 7, minor 7, minor 7, major 7, dominant 7th, minor 7, and minor 7 flat 5. So even though they look very similar, it turns out that they're different in terms of intervals, the distances. The distance from this C to this E are different than the distance. It's a different number of half steps when we go from D to F. So to make this clear, let's look at let's go over here and look at a keyboard for a minute. Here's C going to an E. Let's count the half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but when we go from D to F, 1, 2, 3. It's only 3 half steps. It's a smaller distance. It might look the same on this piece of paper here, but the sound, the reality is, those are two different distances. C to E is a major third, and D to F is a minor third. And so these are different chords. Some of the other distances are different too. On the C chord we have a major third, perfect fifth, and a major 7th. Major 7th is 11 half steps, 1 half step below the octave. So the resulting chord sounds really different. It sounds unique. Major 7, and then when this chord, which is a minor 7 chord, which has a minor 7th third, perfect fifth, and a minor 7th, sounds really different. It's a minor chord for one thing. So we have to be very specific about how we label these chords. So we've got to label them exactly as what they are. So take a minute now to label all these chords. Remember, it's we'll just sing it together once. It's 1 major 7 is the first chord. 1 major 7, 2 minor 7, 3 minor 7, 4 major 7, 5 dominant 7th, 6 minor 7, 7 minor 7 flat 5, and then if you were to play the octave, you would get 1 major 7 again. So label those and put in the letter names as well. Okay, the next thing is to learn how to spell any chord by comparing it to the major 7 version of that chord. Why? Because the major 7 chord is really easy to get because it's got all this, all its notes are just diatonic to the key. They just come right from the key signature. So it's easy to zero in on what that is. So you've got to know your chord formulas, and you've got to know that simple fact that you've got to compare everything to the major 7 version of the chord. So here's our C major 7, 1, 3, 5, 7. It's playing the whole chord when I go up. But it's that distinctive sound again, the 1, 3, 5 major 7 sound. How do we create a dominant 7th? Well, we just have to know our formulas, which are right up here. This is your next step, is to memorize these formulas and apply it. So what's different between a dominant 7th and a major 7? Well, dominant 7th has a minor 7th, a flat 7. So that's what's different. And listen to the difference in sound. Major 7 and dominant 7th. Dominant 7th has a more questioning sound, a more tense sound. And then we go to minor 7. Well, now we need a flat 3 and a flat 7. And minor 7 flat 5, we need flat 3, flat 5, and flat 7. So you need to know, you need to have memorized those formulas. Okay, the next level is to apply it to another key. So try the key of F. Step 1, write the key signature. Step 2, build up your 7th chord. Compare the key signature to the chord, see if it alters any of those notes. In this case it does not. Then step 3, build your other chords by applying the chord formula. What's different between these two chords? Well, the flat 7. What's the difference between this chord and the F major 7? Flat 3, flat 7. What's the difference between this F minor 7 flat 5 and this F major 7? Flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. And it's there we have these chords successfully built. Okay, now we try another key. You try this one now. So key of B flat, what's the key signature? 2 flats, B flat and E flat, write it in. Build up your B flat major 7 chord. There it is. We have to remember, of course, that that is a B flat. Don't really need to write in the B flat. You were just meant to know that it's there. Okay, time to build the B flat 7. Well, 1 is the same, 3 is the same, the 5th is the same, but the 7th has to be flatted. B flat minor 7, the 1 is the same, but it's got a flat 3rd. It's a minor chord, so alter it. 5 is a perfect 5th, and the 7th is a minor 7th. So alter it. Go over to minor 7 flat 5. 1, 3rd needs to be a minor 3rd. 5th needs to be a diminished 5th. 7th needs to be a minor 7th. There we go, we're all done. Now if we go to the next page of the homework, and if I'm going too fast for you, you can pause the video or stop and do the homework yourself and then come back to it. Here we have G major 7 already built for you. The key signature is already there. And we come over here and we see our G 7th, and notice that the 7 is reduced by a half step to create a minor 7th. Okay, now you try to figure out the G minor 7, and when you think you've got it, there's the chord formula, by the way. Just a little bit off. And when you think you've got it, then continue with the video and you can check your answer, and here it is. And here comes the minor 7 flat 5. Now we're going to D. Build up your D major 7 chord. And here's the answer. Build up your D7, and here's the answer. Build up your D minor 7, and here's the answer. And build up your D minor 7 flat 5, and here's the answer. Now we're moving on to the key of E flat. Write your key signature, and then build up your chords. Major 7. Put in your chord formula and figure out your major 7 chord, then figure out your dominant, and so on. Now the rest of this homework is now a 10-minute quiz, which is posted online. So if you can finish the remaining chords in 10 minutes, these 4, these 4, and these 4, writing in the key signatures and finishing all these, then you are, there's actually four lines of them. So it's about 2.5 minutes per line. Okay, it shouldn't take you that long if you really know what we're talking about here. So go ahead and do that and time yourself and see if you can do it in 10 minutes. Okay. One more way to look at this is to look at it as a major seventh is the default, and then all of these chords, dominant seventh, minor 7, minor 7 flat 5, all have increasing numbers of alterations. Dominant seventh requires a flat 7, minor 7 requires flat 3, flat 5, minor 7 flat 5 requires flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. So we come over here and we apply it to a chord sequence, to a sequence of chords that is in our homework here. If we zero in on one, we get our whole note ready here, and we zero in on, say, the key of A major. You just simply enter the key signature, stack up your chords, and that will automatically be an A major 7, because it automatically has the required major third, perfect fifth, and major seventh that comes from the key signature. The dominant seventh, we do the same thing. However, we recall that the seventh needs to be reduced by a half step. And we go over to our minor 7 and we do the same thing. But we recall that the third is reduced by a half step and the seventh is reduced by a half step. And last but not least, we have our minor 7 flat 5 over here, and we know that we build up our chord. And we know that all of the notes except for the root need to be reduced by a half step. Oops, that was too much. Here's what it was. Now we go down a half step, down a half step, oops, and down a half step. And we end up with the correct chords.